Yes, we are watching your screen.
Perfect. They're all coming in good?
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. Well, good, everyone. Thank you. My name is Mike Meriton. A little bit about myself. I'm the co-founder and COO of the EdmCouncil. An interesting journey with the organization. We actually started in 2005, so it's been operating for 16 years. My background, early in my career, I was both a Dun & Bradstreet and Oracle executive. In the mid part of my career, I was the CEO of a spin-off company from IBM called Golden Source, which was well known and still active today as a master data management platform. To start the council, it was back when the very first chief data officers were being appointed. In fact, my colleague and co-partner at the council, John Bottega, which many of you may recognize, was the first appointed chief data officer at Citigroup, which was the first appointed in the finance industry. So I helped start the council, was the first chairman, and then in 2007 we expanded the board of directors to make it majority led by chief data officers throughout the world, and I stayed on the board as the head of the finance committee, and then in 2015 joined the EdmCouncil full-time, and have been with the organization now for the last 6 years. So a little bit about the council from a mission perspective. We believe in a responsible data-driven organization and establishing data literacy for all. And the way we help do that is we advocate industry collaboration to provide data management, analytics research, best practices, standards, training, and education. In fact, if you look to the left side of the page, you'll see our 6 areas of advocacy that we support members with. But one of the very important ingredients and special capabilities of the council is our neutrality. We are a 501c6 nonprofit. Our members own the EdmCouncil, so we're here to serve the members, and they represent all of the different segments worldwide. So if I go forward, you'll see that like every company, when the pandemic broke out a year ago, we were worried about the impact to a membership organization. In fact, we started the year 2020 with about 200 companies worldwide, and we had a record year because data and analytics only became more important in a world where there's a pandemic and a need for more and better and improved data management. So over 60 companies joined last year. These are some of the more recent logos that came on board. So because of our work on cloud data management, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, all of the top 3 cloud providers worldwide, joined the EdmCouncil and our board of directors. Many of you probably are aware of or do business with Snowflake. They came on board, and we continued. Our core heritage has been in the financial markets, so about 85% of the largest financial institutions worldwide are part of the membership, including more recently Credit Suisse coming on board and Santander. But we've also now have moved into many other industries. So you'll see on the top right, AstraZeneca, Schneider Electric, Verizon just joined very recently. These are leading companies in their areas, whether it's life sciences, manufacturing, sustainable energy. Verizon is the second largest telecommunications firm worldwide. Loblaws is one of the major retailers and more. So the expansion into other industries has been an important part of our mission. And of course, this is our attempt to try to get all the logos onto one page. So I think some of you on this call today are likely direct members of the council. Now, one of the things that our members have access to, and it's a major part of what we do, is support best practices. So in working with our members in the 2010 to 2014 timeframe, we actually built, in collaboration with our members, a common framework for assessing data management, and eventually we've now added in analytics. And you'll see on the left is a schematic overview of the DCM framework, and DCM stands for the Data Management Capability Assessment Model. Today, 60% of the global membership, which is a major part of the financial markets, and now even companies like Verizon and Schneider, who are new joiners, are working on implementing DCAM in their organizations. Each year, we enhance this framework to make sure it's current. So we added in an advanced analytics capability, a data ethics provisioning, and there's a whole series of digital tools that companies get access to help leverage this. Now, how is the model organized? So here's an example of how it's structured hierarchically. One of the 8 components is data governance. It has 6 underlying capabilities. One of that being the data management program is governed. That has 4 sub-capabilities out of 136. And ultimately, it leads to objectives and sample artifacts. And the reason it's flexible is companies can use DCAM and very quickly scorecard their company if they're a newer program or they want to get a baseline by doing their assessment at the capability level. It's just 38 questions, and you can get a good sense of where your data supply chain and your analytic program lies. On the other hand, companies over time might elect to actually do a full audit-based artifact assessment and go all the way down where the scores are based on proof positive that the artifacts document and back that your program is at that level of maturity and execution. Scoring guides 1 to 6, we actually consciously picked a even number, because if you pick a prime number like 5, the human tendency is to pick the middle score, which is a 3. In this instance, going from a 3 to a 4 is a big difference. It's whether you've started to work on it or you've actually developed it. The objective is to have a minimum score of a 5, which is the capability is achieved. And of course, the highest level would be a 6, which you're continuing to enhance that capability as well. The model is full of excellent advice because it covers audit questions, the artifacts you'll need, and scoring advice. So companies will use this framework for essentially 4 things. That's why it's been so highly adopted worldwide. Another note, the Federal Reserve in the US, all 12 Federal Reserve districts have been trained on DCAM. The largest central bank in the world, the New York Fed, is actively using this. The Bank of England is, the FCA. So regulators throughout the world have looked at this as sort of guidance and as well a method for running their own data programs inside their business. So the 4 use cases: you can initiate a program. It's good as a checklist of what do you need to get your program up and running. Everyone in data and analytics has a different background, whether it's operational, technical, business, and it becomes a common language for moving a data culture forward. You can do assessments, and in fact, on the bottom right, that's not clip art. It's a real assessment done where members had a new program, their scores were in blue, and the orange was the peer group for them in the global benchmark. So clearly the blue scores were at a lower level, and they use this at the board of director level to secure more formal funding for their program. And in fact, companies now will use this as a compensation metric. We've had quite a few of our members actually say that we will pay not just the data program, but executives throughout their enterprise based on their DCAM scores improving, because it's an independent industry best practice way of evidencing moving your data and analytic program forward. So in addition to that, because of the work we had with DCAM and the broad adoption, we were approached by the major cloud companies and some of our large financial services members to extend the DCAM framework into cloud data management. And that's a challenge because every company in the world, for the most part today, is working with at least one or multiple of the major public cloud companies. And it creates an inefficiency. Each company has to come up with what their capabilities and the requirements are. Each cloud company has to deal with each individual organization. So what we did is we formed a global industry work group. This is how we build everything at the EdmCouncil. So over 226 individuals are involved, 70 companies, 14 of the largest, actually it's 16 today. We've had like UniCredit join and a few others. And it's all around essentially extending what are the controls and risk management you need to implement and accelerate your journey for cloud, but to do it in a structured way. So the top 4 cloud organizations, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and IBM, each have about 6 engineers working at the same table, along with major financial industries. And we're also sharing the results with major regulators with an objective that this framework will be available in the market targeting middle of this year. We've been working on it for 1 year. So we plan to have the first version of this available, and it will be a free license to the marketplace. So members, non-members of the council, anyone that wants to download it will be able to use it to accelerate their cloud journey. And then in the second half of the year, we're pivoting to all other industries in life sciences, consumer tech, government, manufacturing, and more. And we're expecting the majority of this framework to be highly usable across all industries. But also it evidences how does the council do things. We bring everyone together. We don't think we have all the good ideas. The best ideas are with the practitioners. and then we build out frameworks that get used by the marketplace and support that journey. Another work group that we have that I think has gained a lot of attention worldwide is a work group around ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance data. These are the logos of the current participants. Quite a few more have joined since then. And it looks at the data supply chain across the full ESG life cycle of the suppliers of data, which are companies that file their annual reports, the data aggregators like the Bloombergs, the Fitches, the Moody's, the Refinitives, the investment advisors that build ESG-based portfolios, and then ultimately the asset and owners. We're looking at this as a supply chain. Of course, the council's view is going to be that from a data perspective. This is also another open industry group. You don't need to be a member of the council to actually participate. And we're looking to build best practice guidance, potentially frameworks similar to like the cloud framework for scorecarding companies' ability to support the supply chain in a consistent way. So, and then finally, all of our members and guests, if you're interested in anything I've just covered today, because I'm going very quickly, there's other things we do. We have an industry ontology for semantic and graph called FIBO. There's many other things we're involved in. You can simply visit our platform. It's called EdmConnect. It allows anyone throughout the world to connect, join some of the interest groups, etc., and you can register for that right off our homepage. And of course, if you'd like to learn more about any of this, as you can see, many of the things we do don't involve having to be a member of the council. I mean, we're here honestly just like Dama and the DMS event that is going on for the last 2 days to just serve the community overall and worldwide. So I've gone very fast, Mikhail, so I'm done with the formal content.
No. Perfect.
Answer questions from anyone at this point?
Yes, I have put a question in the chat. At the framework level, apart of the very market agnostic approach in DAMA, what is the most notable difference between EdmCouncil and DAMA?
Great, it's a great question. We like to think of us as sort of sister organizations or brother organizations in the marketplace. In other words, both organizations do really important things. One of the things I think would be different between the organizations is obviously familiar with the DMBOK, the Data Management Book of Knowledge. Frankly, for me, it's one of the, if not the best, compendium of all of the best practice guidance and thoughts around data management, and it's a document that has evolved over time. It's highly useful. The council's orientation to that is we're not seeking to replace that, but to complement it. Our focus is around scorable frameworks that get adopted by the ecosystem so companies can quickly assess where they are. And then when it gets down to actually building their program, remember, these are capability models. It's the what to do for good data management, and you can scorecard yourself. And we've mapped legal regulation, data privacy laws into DCAM with knowledge models. But what it does not do is give the individual practitioner guidance. So we actually think what the council does and what DAMA does are complementary in that regard. We have scorable frameworks that we build in collaboration with the industry in all different segments, and DAMA obviously helping at the regional and local level with practitioners and giving good guidance that way. So to me, I actually see that both organizations serve a very important role in the community.
I don't know if there is other question. It's not so easy to have Mike with us. The good idea is if you have some question, it's time to I don't know if Mike, if it's possible to maybe you are not ready for this, or maybe because I need to advise you before, but it's possible to see a little, just a little, the check-in, who is the process for make the try to understand the maturity model of the company. So you make some question to the company, we make a sort of punctuation. What is the process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So someone can use the EdmCouncil's DCAM. So two options for data management capability assessment, which covers everything from data governance to data quality to your data architecture. And more recently, we've just added in an 8th component for analytics best practice. So that framework, to access it and use it, you have to be one of two things: a member of the EDM Council, or you can hire one of the consultancy firms that are authorized to bring it into the market, and they can help you do that assessment directly. And members have choices. They can download it and do it themselves, or they can bring in one of the partners. There's 27 companies worldwide. It includes Ernst & Young, Pricewaterhouse, KPMG, Accenture, and other major organizations, but boutique firms throughout the world like Element 22, Orteca, and more. So there's a very big network and about 600 consultants worldwide that are trained on DCAM. But then there's now thousands of people that have done their own training and use this in-house for themselves. So that's for DCAM, which is the broad-based data management capability assessment model. For CDMC, when we release the cloud data management framework, these are the controls and capabilities for accelerating specifically your cloud journey. So that will be a free license. You'll be able to go to the EdmCouncil website, download it once we publish it. We'll provide the framework, a scoring guide, etc. The only thing that really costs money for someone to use is to attend a training course, because obviously we need some funding to cover paying the instructors, etc. And then we'll have maps that will allow people to map from the cloud framework into the global data management framework. So then we give the opportunity for companies to sort of test drive using the cloud framework for an immediate need. And over time, if they're interested in considering membership, they can do that. Again, all of our fee structures, since we're a nonprofit, are relatively economical. When companies join the council, it's not an individual membership, but a company-wide membership. So usually the larger firms have hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are online and using these materials. And even small to mid-sized companies, there's dozens and dozens of people. Since, again, we open up the use of all of this to the entire company, it's not limited to the individual. So, Mikhail, hopefully that gives a good sense that there are things people can do with the council, like be in these work groups, et cetera, that don't require membership. The cloud framework and anything we likely publish on ESG will be free resources in the marketplace. And if you just want to get involved and learn a little more, you can actually join in, as I mentioned before, the EdmConnect platform. It's not limited to members. Both guests and members can get on the platform and connect and use some of the core materials. So hopefully that gave a little bit of clarity, but we welcome the engagement, and we certainly think that our relationship with NAMA, and we're grateful obviously for the opportunity to speak at the DMS event, both in the panel yesterday on data governance and this session today.
Okay, so there is, I don't know if you can see the chat window, there is some question. I don't know if you want to answer, because we have a little bit of time, 6 minutes.
Yeah, well, remember, I had on the calendar this was starting at 9:45. I thought I had a very tight...
No, but the problem was mine, because it was too speed in my presentation. You are okay. The problem was managed.
Let me go open the chat and just take a read of the questions. Let's see here. Can we get a sneak peek of the Cloud Data Management Assessment Framework? Yes, I can show you a draft of the top line of it. So I'll do that in a moment. Just see if there's another question I can answer, since we have about 6 minutes. What is the best path of engagement with the EDM Council for small companies? We actually have 4 or 5 tiers for companies, so that what an HSBC or a Schneider Electric or a Microsoft pay obviously is a much bigger number than what a small 10-person company. As a point of reference, by the way, the really big companies paying $30,000 or $40,000. If they're an institution, it might be in the $15,000 to $20,000. A small company could be paying $2,700 to the council for 10 employees, as an example. So we try to tier it so bigger companies pay more, smaller companies pay less. If your entity is a government entity, like about 2 weeks ago, all 12 Federal Reserve banks in the US, we had 5 of them already, so 7 new joined the council. The Bank of England, the FCA, they all have a very economical fee for their entire organization of $27.50. So these aren't big dollars, big investments. They're modest, just to make sure we have staff to support these activities. So hopefully that answers that question. Data privacy and ethics being considered for inclusion in the framework as well. Absolutely, yes, it already is. So each year we have a release on DCAM. We actually brought in a work group to build out data ethics principles. We have a formal data ethics training course about responsible AI and data management. It's a 2-day course. It's taught by Diana Asher. She's a UCLA department chair, probably one of the global experts on data ethics, who built the course, integrated the concepts in the work group into the framework, and also we have a formal course, so if anyone wants to really get up to speed and certified on data ethics, we actually have a training course for that, and we roll that into the framework itself. I think I've gotten a lot of the questions here. I will give this sneak peek. I think I've covered what's the difference between DAMA and DMBOK versus DCAM. Are there any questions I may have missed, Mikkel?
No, I don't see any other question in the. There is Gigi.
Okay, let me see what.
So is the demand accelerated due to the pandemic times? So many companies ask to you something.
So Gigi, I didn't follow the question. What's the question? Gigi, could you repeat your question?
Well, I want to know something is if it's impossible to understand. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. It's impossible to understand if during these pandemic times the demand is accelerated. So many companies has asked to you to.
Yeah, so during the pandemic, have we had a lot of companies approach the council about everything, ESG, data prioritization, data quality rules? Yeah, I mean, a year ago, I tell this to friends that John and I prepared 3 business cases because we thought, hey, membership could be optional. This will be a tough time. We had bad, really bad, and catastrophic. And that was April of last year. And then, you know, to our blessing and surprise, and probably this has been for DAMA as well, we had our best year ever in 16 years. In just the last 10 weeks of the new year, since we're middle of March, we've had 27 companies join the council. So the speed of interest in data management, all industries. So like Michelin Tires, the world's largest tire manufacturer, joined the EDM Council. I mean, we're like, this is great. They care, they want to drive data management. They were happy to hear, since they're headquartered in France, that Schneider Electric was already on board and doing work with us. Verizon now has us working with British Telecom, Telstra, you know, because obviously that vertical market of global telecommunications, and Verizon just published a press release. They're implementing DCAM and getting off to the races. And then, of course, regulators are highly interested in cloud. They're all worried about how do they properly review and regulate. And so the engagement around the cloud data management has been stunning. I mean, we never expected we would launch a work group. Normally a work group has 20 or 30 people and we work on stuff. We've never had 220 people and 70 companies in a work group. It's a massive endeavor. And they show up. For 1 year, we've had 40, 50, 60 people in 2-hour sessions weekly to build a cloud framework. So let me go ahead and show that to you as the final thing. So I can give my entire screen. Let's see, screen 1, screen 2, screen 1. And let me go and see if I can bring up the newest, and then I will bring the, this is all, wasn't fully planned. I'll do my best to show it to you though. Here we go. So this is a quick sneak peek of the framework itself. So you'll see that it covers data accountability and governance. So yes, governance is at the heart of the CDMC framework. Then it moves on to data catalog and classification. It also includes that metadata must be interoperable amongst the major cloud providers, Amazon, Google, Microsoft Azure, etc. Then it's on to data accessibility and usage, data privacy and data protection. These are all the capabilities inside of it, data lifecycle management, and of course, data and technical architecture. You will know that the first capability at the very top, 1.1, is data ownership. So that's in there along with the business case for data management. But this gives you a sense, all of this ends up being the specific controls you need to worry about if you're wanting to be compliant to GDPR and more. This is designed to be cross-referenced to the full 200 pages of the GDPR regulation. And in fact, as this gets released, the knowledge model from GDPR to this framework will be available as well. So hopefully it gives you a sense of the depth. This will probably be a 200-page document. This is essentially the top-line table of contents.
Okay, just last question, because I'm curious. You know that I am very involved with DAMA because I'm in the board of DAMA Spain chapter. Regarding your international expansion, I don't know if you think to do something similar like DAMA, try to have some chapter, or you as a different idea.
The council is 100% international and global. All of the major, for instance, all the pillar banks in Australia and Singapore, we're all the Japanese organizations, our core heritage, financial markets, and today now we're opening up to all markets. So the way we've handled it, Mikhail, is regionally we implement regional advocates. So we have 8 or 9 worldwide. So for UK, Europe, it's Colin Gibson. For continental Europe, it's Sean Rolls. He's based in Stockholm. We have a person in Singapore, a person in Australia, one in Canada, one in US, and also we're about to appoint one for Israel and Middle East. And then we work regionally with companies. But one of the things that we're, I think, a little bit different, DAMA is very federated. So you have country models and leadership. The leadership of the council and the way we run it and the way we build things is that we coordinate globally across all regions to build frameworks and things like that. So a little bit different, and I think both models have their advantages and disadvantages. And I think what makes me highly interested in our relationship with DAMA is I think our approaches can be highly, highly complementary. So we welcome the discussion with any country leadership team. For instance, Nino, who I think is your Italian DAMA president, is very active with the EDM Council, is one of our partners with DCAM and more. So this affiliation, it doesn't have to be a choice. It's not DAMA versus the council. I think I think the mission is so big that we all need to work together because no company, no individual has figured all of this out, and it's an opportunity for us all to work together to solve big and complicated industry issues that also represent tremendous opportunity for everybody.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Good to meet everyone.
I'm very honored to have you in the Data Management Summit because I think that we have understand perfectly your model, and it's very interesting. All that move around the data management, it's interesting for Data Management Summit for this.
One final note, Miquel. Mi padre es de Madrid y yo puedo hablar un poquito de español.
Ma io soy italiano.
Bueno, gracias.
No, hablo español también, por supuesto, porque vivo en España. Pero bien, Mike.